Good evening, everyone. There's been a lot going on, but first, celebrating my birthday this past weekend. My wife did a wonderful job in planning it. First time ever going to Los Angeles, and we actually went to Disneyland as well. Very good time. Had a very fun time. Ate a lot of food. The food in LA, believe it or not, family, is very good. I was very surprised of all the good food that was in Los Angeles. We went down to Chinatown. It's what I expected. It wasn't nothing really, the quote unquote visit, but we tried it out or whatever. But we ate at the Nobu in Malibu, California. I think it was maybe about a 30-minute drive from where we were staying. But believe me, family, the sushi at Nobu, very delectable, very delicious. Had nothing like it. The fish was, immaculate. There's really no words for it. My experience at Nobu was very, very good. So really high class restaurant there. Spent a couple of $100. Didn't know it was going to be that goddamn expensive. But again, my wife took care of me. Again, we had a very, very good time. We stayed at a beautiful hotel. I don't know how she found it, or she just lucked up. It was called the Perla, and we had some really good people working at the Perla. Really good doorman by the name of Eddie. Shout out goes out to Eddie, really knowledgeable guy in the area. But yeah, we had a great time. She took me to Disneyland and took me to some spots around LA. Did a LA driving tour, so to speak. Now the tour was trash, by the way. And me and her knew that. I mean, not at the time we was taking it, but afterwards we literally drove around rich people's homes. They were like, yeah, this is where Tom Cruise has one of his houses. This is where Janet Jackson has one of her houses, so on and so forth. I'm like, so we're basically driving around looking at rich people's houses. I mean, we're not those type of people. Like, we're not gonna get all hyped up because you're living better or living richer, or you have a house in Hollywood. But nonetheless, really, really good time at Disneyland. Again, the trip was absolutely wonderful. The only thing, well, I won't say the only thing, there was a couple of things about LA that I really didn't like. Okay, I didn't go to the hoods and nothing like that. I'm not from LA. I'm not going to do nothing dangerous like that, or stupid rather. The traffic in LA, the traffic, when people will say that the LA traffic is horrendous, they don't just mean on the highway, Highway 5, 110, whatever. They're talking about throughout LA, or at least the parts I was in, downtown LA. The traffic was it was just crazy the whole entire time. The second thing here is the homeless population, which we're going to dive into, not just to LA, but for all of Black Americans, which is very important. Guys, you're really going to have to follow me on this particular video. I'm going to be giving you guys bits of information here, but kind of telling the story of why I labeled and named the title, that the Demoncrats are trying to annihilate Black Americans. Okay, this is my conjecture. And for those who are new watching me, I am apolitical, meaning I don't swing liberal, conservative, Republican, Democrat, independent, or whatever. Okay, we have a plan, we have an agenda which will support and help and assist all Black Americans, those who are direct descendants of American slavery, okay? This is important. Now, first, I know you guys have been watching a lot of the news stories that's been coming out, and one very popular one has been about how policemen are literally buck breaking our Black young men, why they're getting pulled over, or maybe they stand on the corner chilling, whatever the case may be. They're getting searched very sexually, and now they're talking about sexual assault and things of that matter. So I'm just gonna play a little bit of this and see where it goes. This is new to me as it well is to you versus this particular video, not the story.
Royal police gang unit arrests and sexual assault men digging up instead of looking for drugs.
So you saw his leg kick up once you saw his leg kick up once he kind of like, the camera was blocked somewhat, but he kicked up his leg like, he actually went up his butt. And it was stating that they were looking for drugs up his butt. Now, is that a legal search in public? Like, isn't that something that you're supposed to take them to the precinct, you print them, you book them, you take some pictures, and then if you're going to change his clothes or he's going to prison or something, he bend over and cough so they can look up there. You don't go digging up a man's butt. I mean, and then he literally didn't have any gloves on. So that's going on in the world, family. But I digress. I just wanted to point that out because we need to teach our Black children, our Black teenagers, and Black people in general how to handle the police. First thing is, you must understand that, and you've heard people in the Black community say it like this, that you are a prisoner of war. See, a lot of times we don't want to think like that. We just think that people who get pulled over or incarcerated or locked up are guilty, either by association, their environment, or they did something. And we know that's not true, family. There's many of Black men and women getting freed, okay? Getting freed because they didn't do anything wrong. They was basically set up. And we're not talking about onesies or twosies. We're talking about hundreds of people being released with DNA evidence, or some video or audio evidence came up to light, or they can tell that the police records were forged. All sorts of things are coming out, and Black people are being released slowly, mind you, not fast as we would like, but a lot of our brothers and sisters are locked up. Let me get to it, family, because there are some things that has been very alarming outside of the Democratic Party, and consistently the Black community, we keep voting Democrat. And I'm not saying vote Republican, okay? And then some people say, oh, well, who do we vote for? We should not just not vote. And I'm gonna get on that, family, because again, we keep voting for nothing. Everybody else is getting something. But let me press on here. Time and time again, we've been voting for the Democrats for the past 60 years. And I'm going to tell you how the Democrats repay Black Americans. They have yet to put reparations on the table. They have yet to put in an anti-Black hate crime bill like they did the Asians, or give reparations like they did the Native Americans, or, excuse me, are continuing to give the Native Americans. One of the arguments I find on social media is that Black people will say, well, those groups, atrocities have occurred during their lifetime, in reference to the Japanese Americans, the Japanese when they was in internment camps, the Irish, and as well as Jews, right? With the Holocaust. They're making these as their examples, which makes no sense. And soon as you throw up Native Americans and their conditions and their treaties and their laws passed protecting them, they don't have any smoke for you because they don't know how to combat that. Because these generations of Native Americans wasn't taken off their land. They didn't expose them to smallpox, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Okay. Not only did the federal government steal and take our land, okay, and again, you can research these things. These are not wild claims. This was allowed from the local, state, and federal level, as well. Bomb any city or any financial district we ever built. Most people, see, we would like to believe that out of this 50 states that one group of black people gathered together using group economics and built a black business district or a black Wall Street. And we believe that only occurred in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Family, that did not only occur in Tulsa, Oklahoma. If you go research some of the major black cities that we have today, a lot of them have black business districts where majority of the black residents were doing financially well. We had banks and hospitals and clinics. Okay. We had workshops and mechanics, etc. We built our own business and we had our own economic power structure. But time and time again, the system of white supremacy, seeing black people are doing better than the majority, they stole, they destroyed, they framed, they did anything to undermine and literally annihilate that. And here we go for round two. I mean, major round two. And the problem is we're not seeing what they're doing. We're not seeing it. We think things have to be right up in front of your face. We believe that everything has to be in vivid detail in black and white. That is not how white supremacists move. You have extremist white supremacists where they pull on masks and carry guns and march down the street, and they will say they will not replace us. That's what you would like to believe. That racism and prejudice and discrimination is right in front of your face in black and white, unfamily. No. I mean, if you understand military tactics, and that's why you're behind enemy lines, and this is the things while all these wild, chaotic things happen to black Americans, then understand what I'm about to show you. This should answer all of your questions. If this doesn't answer your questions and understand what the hell is going on, then you are dead already.
Now more than ever, we're short of workers. We have a population that is not reproducing upon its own with the same level that it used.
So he said that the workforce is suffering, and that we do not have the same population growth as we once did to sustain these particular jobs. Now, family, I'm gonna let the cat out the bag and I'm gonna let you know the information right up front, but we're gonna cover in more detail for you, those who don't have an attention span more than 15 minutes, then here it is. Black Americans has the highest homeless rate in America. Why do we have the highest homeless percentage in America? And then some people are, oh man, you're just gonna go back to slavery. Well, people don't understand things trickle down. What's the term generational wealth? If we're not understanding generational wealth, then we're not understanding generational poverty. We're not understanding generational poverty. Why is no one talking about generational poverty? Because our economic base was destroyed. The men were taken out the home in mass incarceration. The women now had to take on the role of the man and trying to be feminine in her energy. She can't do both. So a lot of our women and the babies of those singles mama and those women and the women today are very, very masculine. But no one's never looking at the root. We're always looking at the branch of things. But this is what we voted for, right? Ever since Martin Luther King spoke with Lyndon B. Johnson, got some civil rights bills passed. From that moment on, we became blind. We became deaf to voting. And the only thing that the Democratic Party can do is tell you to get out and get your voice heard. And I hear this from people I know. I hear this from people all over social media. It's like, if you don't vote, your voice won't be heard. If you don't vote, you don't have a voice. That is the dumbest shit I ever heard in my life. And I use this analogy all the time. If I have a gun and you don't have a gun, you're most likely going to be fearful for your life. So I have my voting chip. I have my voting ticket. I have my voting ballot. That's my power. That's my leverage. If I give my gun to another group, to another party, to another person, now they have the power. So if I vote and I vote for absolutely nothing, meaning I had all this leverage as a collective group and I do nothing with it, then you get nothing. But we're not understanding that. We just keep voting Democrat, expecting something in return, what these other groups have not. I saw a couple of Democrats just drop off. That's okay. We're going to get into it. Because see, here's my thing. When it comes to political parties, I don't give a damn. Because we need to understand the transparency and all of these schemes and fraudulent tactics that both political parties are using against us. But most likely you would think that the party that you vote for will kind of give you some trinkets. We're trying to give you some treats. No, they undermine you at every turn.
The only way we're going to have a great future in America is if we welcome and embrace immigrants, the dreamers, and all of them, because our ultimate goal.
So we shall welcome and embrace dreamers. And we looking at this correctly, family. Remember when New York was giving undocumented illegal immigrants $2,000? But there you are in your New York apartment paying $3,000 for a bedroom and a half. If you look at the size of some of those apartments in New York, but they're giving people who are illegal in the country, quote unquote, dreamers, undocumented. That means illegal. You're illegally in the country. Money, resources, etc. And that we as Americans, because we're not fulfilling the workforce, that we should accept it and support it. But when I went to Los Angeles, when I go home to DC, I see hundreds, if not thousands, of Black homeless people on the street. Now, I would be hard pressed to believe that all of those Black people got there because they was high off on drugs and alcohol. I was homeless for a moment. I wasn't high off alcohol, but at the time I was very small, but nonetheless, we were homeless. We didn't have anywhere to go. There's a lot of Black Americans right now who are one paycheck away from being homeless, and one check away from being 60 or 90 days late, whether it be a car or late on their rent. It really doesn't matter, because we are the economic floor. Poverty starts with us. But we keep voting Democrat because we have been systematically manipulated and brainwashed to do so. Not only by their own hand, by our parents and our family members. They continue to reinstate, reinforce, double down, Democrat, 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 Democrat. Vote blue no matter who. And they demonize everything else. But here's the thing, family. I want you to hear this. Because if you hear it where I'm hearing and you see the state of Black America, you're telling me, oh yeah, ain't nobody go down to Florida and pick no fruit, dog, no oranges. You mean to tell me if you was one paycheck or you was $1 away from being totally poor, totally broke, homeless, and they was doing the right thing by paying those pickers, those people who are doing those hard jobs, at least the minimum wage for that city, that county, and or that state? You don't believe that black people will go down there and get those jobs until they find something better? You're saying that we would rather be homeless? So listen to this again. He's talking about the population. We are 331 million people. That we should embrace all these other people from all these other countries that are essentially, here's another one, family, they are not black countries. They're not letting Haitians in. They're not letting Jamaicans in. They're not letting Africans in. When you see the mass population of the people that they're letting in, let me blow this up a little bit so you can see the people who are in the picture. Tell me if you see a melanated face. Tell me where you see a melanated face. What you're getting is a great depiction of who and what they're letting in. Let me rewind this. I'm gonna let you guys hear this in its totality.
Now more than ever, we're short of workers. We have a population that is not reproducing on its own with the same level that it used to. The only way we're going to have a great future in America is if we welcome and embrace immigrants, the Gleaners, and all of them, because our ultimate goal is to help the Gleaners but get it past to citizenship for all 11 million or however many undocumented
Wow.
are here.
Wow. You know, this fool just said 11 million or however how many. It could be 60 million. He like, yeah, just bring them all in. Bring them all into America. And see, for some reason, because the only thing we listen to is CNN, or we listen to these Democratic shills and bootlickers, and we believe that this is not a problem for America. And most importantly, that it's not a problem for black people. But you continue to walk past your people on the street. You you constantly complain about not getting promoted on the job or not getting paid fair wages. Why would I pay you fair wages and I can get Enrique at $5 less? He just happy to be in the country. Why would I do that? Why would I do that? Why, when you go, like, especially in Texas, I go to any construction site, I never see any black people. I think out of 100 construction sites, I've seen one black person, one black guy. One. Everybody was of Hispanic origin, except the white project leader. This is the true, family. We need to understand how we are being replaced. We are being annihilated. Not only are we getting killed in the street because we don't have an anti-hate crime bill like the American government gave Asians, which I'm not against. I'm for their protections, but I'm for our protection as well. Mass incarceration is still in effect. We're still getting locked up more than any other group for no crimes and petty crimes with severe punishments. We have to look at this at all angles. See, when you think about strategic warfare, you just don't attack your so-called enemy on one front. You attack them on every front, every side, every angle, every degree. You want to annihilate them, destroy them, kill them. That is what you're trying to do. And if you don't understand with these political groups, and I'm just highlighting the Democrats right now, I've highlighted the Republicans many times, but we need to understand how these groups move. Schumer says he calls for the amnesty for 11 million or however many illegal immigrants in America. And we're kind of against the Republicans. Oh, why are you trying to secure the border? Well, God damn it, we're the most powerful country in the world. Why wouldn't we have secure borders? Why wouldn't we have secure borders? Oh man, you sound like a right wing. You sound like a Republican. No, I sound like a black American. The more people that they let inside this country will slowly replace us, will slowly put us another step down, will slowly increase the wealth gap. Black people are not getting construction jobs. Can I say that again? Black people are not getting construction jobs. We were the Hispanics back in the 30s, 40s, and 50s, when we, excuse me, ever since we landed on this country, and some of us derived from this country, we have always been the construction class workers, because we were the ones who knew how to build things, engineer things. The only thing you got to look, there's only one history you really have to research, family, and that's the history of the Moors that conquered and took over Spain for 700 years. And that would tell you how they built up their economic structure, businesses, configured a sewer system, yada, 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 yada. You get what I'm getting at. But let's move on. Democrats confront bleak odds for immigration deal before 2023. It states here that the party leaders are pushing hard for legislation, aiding the undocumented population known as dreamers before Republicans take the House, but GOP senators have little interest. The Republicans are like, nah, nope, But the Republicans are hypocrites as well. You know why? I know you answered that question. You know why? Because even though they don't want to open the border and let all these other mostly Mexican and South American countries flood in with immigrants, but they allow illegal immigrants to work for these white Republican farmers. And the only thing they do, and when ICE agents come around, why aren't the farm owners getting incarcerated? Why aren't the people who are hiring the illegal immigrants getting incarcerated, getting in prison, getting jail, getting locked up? Why is that not happening? That's because politicians, on the most part, are hypocrites. There's very few trustworthy politicians. Shout out goes out to Marcel Dixon, one of the few. One of the few. Here we go. Now, I want you to keep your eye on this, family. I did have this highlighted earlier. A group of House Democrats on Wednesday introduced a bill that will allow undocumented immigrants to apply for immigration papers after 7 years in the country. Currently, it is virtually impossible for undocumented immigrants to legalize their status in the United States, as it should be. As it should be. Wait a minute. Can I ask a question? You mean to tell me you broke a federal law by entering a country that's not your own without legal authorization from that government, and then the government turns around and say, well, if you stay here for 7 years, we'll make you legal? Huh? Family, where does that happen at? This is the only country that happens. You know why? Because in order for Democrats to stay in office and to get in office, what do they need? What do they constantly need? The black vote. Why do you believe that Hillary Clinton didn't get into office? Because she did not have the black vote. Let me tell you how Barack Obama got in office. I voted for him twice. I'm guilty. But he didn't do nothing for black people. And I know some of you don't talk about my Obama, but he didn't do nothing for black people. But he gave all other groups. He gave Native Americans money. He gave Jews money. And I'm not against it. But again, I'm still curious about how you give Holocaust survivors, millions of dollars that it didn't originate in this country. It's just a question, right? But here's another one. What legislation did Barack Obama help to support and assist black Americans? And somebody better not say the Affordable Health Care Act, because that was for everybody. But anyway, Barack Obama was a shoo-in for president, especially by black Americans. You want to know why? Because he was black. He had a black wife. He had black kids. He had a little swag. And from what I hear from the ladies, he's a handsome guy. That makes sense. They're like, he can form a sentence. Shout out goes out to Herschel Walker. He can form a sentence. He's tall. Ladies say he's handsome. Black wife. Look, okay. Black children. Okay, cool. He's shoo-in. Easy. Hillary Clinton thought she was going to get the black vote from Barack Obama. That didn't occur. Her white skin didn't let her in. And so they let Donald Trump in because we didn't vote this last term. But here's the thing. We keep voting at 87% on this last election for Joe Biden. He disrespected us. We ignored that he made the legislation when he was a senator up in the Northeast. He made the legislation to mass incarcerate our men, our young boys, but we ignored that. We ignored when he said, if you don't vote for me, you're not black. We ignored that. We ignored when he stated on the Congress floor that he's not going to allow his kids to go to school with those animals in the jungle. Paraphrasing. But we voted for him. And when I mean we, I don't mean me. I just mean we as a group. But that's what they're trying to do, family. That's what they're trying to do. I see your comments. Give me a second. Now, I see we got Brent C in the room. Thank you, brother. I appreciate that love gift. I appreciate that love gift. I see Jermaine Anderson is on his job. I see I got Linda Morris. She said, I'm black for over 60 years and still cannot understand how USA does not think they don't need to cut the check. I know that's right. America has me pissed off. France in the house. Okay, that's what's up. Now let's move on, family. Let's move on. There's still some to cover here because we need to understand, you know how people, even black people will say, well, if they give us all this money, if they give us reparation, then what that's supposed to look like? And I be wanting to say, Negro, what you think it looks like? Now, all of us are using the term, cut the check, reparations now, but they're not even giving us a protection bill like they did the Asians, right? And a lot of people in the black community are now looking at what the Native Americans are getting. And I'm just going to touch on this very quickly. I want to give credit to Jason Black at the Black Authority. He did some of the clips I had here. I had to go over them because they were very, very relevant and tall-telling, especially the Chuck Schumer one, that we should have let all the undocumented workers in. This flood America. That damn traffic in LA, traffic in DC, traffic in New York, traffic, I mean, where every black person lives. I mean, we majority live in the city or the outskirts of the city, but we endure some of the same hardships. And when you start seeing people that are newly in the country and they're getting the jobs before you, you can think who you voted for. You can think the Democrats. So when we look at this is called NICWA, okay? It said that NICWA was created for the following stated principles: to protect Native children. This is about Native Americans, to promote safe, healthy, and culturally strong environments for Native children, to promote the spiritual strength of Native children and positive cultural identity, to be a strong voice for the needs of Native children and American Indian Alaskan Native children, welfare programs specifically for this group. Specifically for this group. Let me move on. Now, this is important, family. To address these uncertainties and improve implementation of the ICWA, the Bureau of Indian Affairs, which falls under, listen, the Bureau of Indian Affairs falls under the federal government, FYI. It states provided additional federal guidance, some for the first time since enactment of the law. In December 2016, the BIA published revised guidelines entitled Guidelines for State Courts in Indian Child Custody Proceedings. These are non-legally binding and were the first revision since 1979. That same month, the first ever comprehensive federal regulation addressing ICWA implementation for state courts and public and private agencies became effective. Okay, so basically this is stating that their children are protected. Their children are protected on every level, even adoption. Are black children protected? Or do our black children get pulled over? And I don't mean pulled over in a car. I mean at the age of 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, all the way up to they're an adult. They're being harassed by the police and other white supremacists. They're being harassed. They're being searched. They're being fondled. They're being assaulted. But this is why you don't hear about certain things like that. Let me move on. I'm going somewhere here, because this is very, very important, because the NICWA just doesn't cover Native American children. Oh, no, no, no. It also covers Native Americans in general, okay? And if you notice here, USC congressional findings, right? It states that the Congress shall have power to regulate commerce with Indian tribes, one, and through this and other constitutional authority, Congress has plenary power over Indian affairs. That means total and absolute power over Indian affairs. So a lot of times, family, I've stated this, I've said this, that they're on sovereign land and they govern themselves and they police themselves. But at the end of the day, let's just be very, very clear. The federal government still owns everything that they potentially gave Native Americans under treaties and other legislation. But here's the point. That Congress, through statutes, treaties, and the general course of dealing with Indian tribes, has assumed the responsibility for the protection and preservation of Indian tribes and their resources. The federal government, with all its might, active duty military, federal agencies, all the 3- and 4-letter agencies, we're the most policed country in the world. And the federal government, through statutes and treaties, and just dealing with Native Americans, dealing with Indian tribes, are going to provide protection and preservation of the tribes, meaning the people, and their resources. And their resources, that there is no resource that is more vital to the continued excellence and integrity of Indian tribes than their children, and the United States has a direct interest as trustees in protecting Indian children who are members of or eligible for membership in an Indian tribe. So they're mentioning the people, because they said tribe, they didn't say the children on that first one. And then they actually pointed out the children. But nonetheless, Native Americans have federal protections. They have the full extent of the law, just like Asians, just like Asian Americans, just like Asian Americans. Now, I have a question. I don't have the answer to this. Maybe someone who's legalese, someone who's lawyer savvy, you know. If you are illegal immigrant of Asian descent, and someone assaults you because you're Asian, and it's proven, you say a bunch of Asian discriminatory words, does that person then get locked up for hate crime? Now, a lot of you are going to say, well, absolutely. But isn't he illegally in the country? I'm just asking the question. I really don't know. I have one way that I'm leaning, but I really don't know. But it's kind of like, when I think about, if you are illegally in the country, I want you to stay with me here. If you are illegally in the country, the analogy, I'm illegally in a bank, right? And I'm taking the money, just like they say that, you know, illegal immigrants take the jobs, which they do. They don't take them, they're actually provided and they're given the jobs. But nonetheless, let's just say, for this example, they take the jobs. So you're illegally in a bank and you take money. And as you're coming out the bank, someone steals your money from you because you're a black. Do you still get locked up for being illegally in the bank? This is a question. I don't know. I'm just asking questions here. But furthermore, what we need to understand is the economic support that Native Americans receive from the federal government with your quote unquote tax dollars. Now, as far as I know, Native Americans who reside on a reservation don't pay any taxes. And they get stipends and house grants, and they can build casinos and build billion-dollar industries on the land that the sovereign land that the U.S. government gave under treaties. Interesting, but you're paying for it. But when Black Americans demand and tell the federal government, which they already know they owe to us, reparations, then we have other Black people and Democratic shields and coons and bootlickers stating why reparations wouldn't be a good thing, or is reparations is education. No, it is not. Whatever they decide to do with their money on reservations, Native Americans going to do with their money. And we need to stop having all these goddamn mamas and daddies on the internet telling us what we're going to do with the money. Oh, well, you know, Ray and Pookie, they just going to buy a big bunch of rims. That's all they're going to do. And let them dudes buy rims. Let them put the biggest speakers, the biggest rims on their car. Who cares? There's going to be a lot of Black Americans. I'm going to tell you why they're afraid of this, family. That's because there are going to be a lot of Black Americans who are going to build and start their own businesses. They're going to stop relying on the corporate structure. You're going to stop your 9 to 5. You're going to stop that midnight shift, and you're going to go out and build your own business and hire who the hell you want to hire. When you go to other people's businesses, take for instance, I went to an Indian establishment to get me some Indian food, very delicious. Every person in that restaurant was Indian. I went to a Hispanic ran store to get, you know, you can get from Hispanic ran stores in some areas, you can get saltfish, you can get all sorts of foods that you can't internationally, that you can't get in a regular grocery store, all Hispanic. I remember a couple of years ago, I was with an ex of mine going into a beauty supply store. Guess who ran the beauty supply store? Asians. So other groups have taken money and gifts and grants that the American government has given them, and they have built powerhouses. Take, for instance, family, Exhibit A, okay? Exhibit A, this is coming from a federal government website. And this is what Joe Biden did with your vote. He gave Native Americans even more money on top of the federal budget, $31 billion more. And what did they do with the tax dollars that we all pay as Black Americans? You know what they did? They built casinos, but I'm not hating. I applaud the Native Americans for building casinos, because they're taking everybody's money. Everybody gambles. Black people gamble. Asian people gamble. White people gamble. Everybody gambles. Everybody gambles. And everybody goes on the reservations wherever they are, and they go gamble their money away. So they took the money that the federal government was allotting to them with your tax dollars and built billion-dollar businesses. And guess who work at these reservations? Native Americans. And I applaud that. You know why? Hashtag cut the check. Hashtag reparations now. Family, if we let up the smoke, if we let up the pressure, then we will never get it. We have to continue to inform and educate other Black Americans on how important reparations is. Because we see when other groups get reparations, family, we see what it can do. Some of you may say, well, you know, fam, if they give the homeless people this money without any classes or financial literacy, and that they're going to be right back on the street. Okay. That's what I say to it. See, we should not be treated like little children, where other groups can get money and their community leaders get together and they figure something out. Okay. That's what occurred through all of this. So, well, we need to get organization and unify and get groups together so we can disseminate this money and give. No. Everybody should be able to get their freaking check without some slave master telling them how to spend their money. Because I know what I would do with the money, and you'll know what you would do with the money. And here's another thing. If you're against reparations, then shut up. Oh, man, I got freedom of speech. No, here's the thing, Negro. If you shut up and we get the money, then you don't look like a fool. Well, we may never get the money. Family, a lot of times in life, you fight for things that you may never see. You fight for things that you may never get. How do you think our ancestors did when they fought for all the rights that we receive under civil rights? They're not here to see us benefit from it, but it worked. So I'm telling the Sambos and bootlickers and coons to sit down, shut up. And if it works and we get the money that we are owed, then you get paid too. But damn, if you keep talking, put them on a list, you don't get shit. Split that up. Split that money up, because everybody getting paid except us. Everybody's getting paid except us. And here is the fiscal year 2023 of the money that Native Americans will receive. And again, I know I'm speaking with a lot of enthusiasm, family. It's not that I'm hating. It is that when Negroes ask me, well, what do reparations look like for Black Americans? Is it education? Is it more food stamps? Is it Section 8 housing? No, it looks something like this. This is what it looks like. This is what it looks like, family. And let me just scroll down. It looks like protect public safety and justice at $562 million. That's what it looks like. That's what it looks like. Support Indian land consolidation. Replace the word Indian. I'm kind of giving you an example. Okay, this is just for an example. Replace the word Indian with Black American. Support Black American land consolidation at $80 million. You know what that does, right? It helps Black people focus on support for adaptation to climate change. Oh, wow. They're getting money for climate change. Land buyback program for Black Americans. Let me scroll down. Empower Black American communities. This is how it would read. The president budget supports and promotes Black American sovereignty through Black Americans, Black government activity, which assists federal recognized Black Americans and sustain self-governance capabilities through Black self-determination and Education Assistance Act contracts and self-governance compacts. The budget proposed at $394 million to Black Americans to conduct, consolidate, and administer programs, services, functions, and activities for their citizens according to their priorities. To their priorities. According to their priorities. Not the federal government, not the local government, but to Black Americans' priorities. Let me move on. Support sustainable stewardship of trust resources, $406 million, $407 million. What are we talking about here? $7 million for Black American Civil Climate Corps. Let me move on. Most importantly here, family, support Black American families. The budget includes $202 million in human services funding. It goes to talk about social services at $80 million, child protection for family and Violence Prevention Act $200 million. Support economic opportunities. Support economic opportunities. We're talking about money. It states here that $72 million for job placement and training is funded. And they break up how they're going to give each and every dollar and how it will be allocated to support these programs and systems. $24 million for job placement and training. How many people out there are looking for a job that aligns with their skill set? See, if we had the amount of money that this group was receiving, we can build our own. And see, when people kind of throw out this term, we can build our own. Listen, family, that means either you're going to team up with other like-minded people in the Black community and build your own business, or you might just be a self-proprietorship, or you might have a multi-member LLC, maybe 2 or 3 of you guys. But at the same time, family, it's your choice because you got the money to do so. I would encourage all of us in our little small groups in order to build economic powerhouses, to build back those Black business districts, AKA Black Wall Streets. Let me continue. $7 million for the Secretary's Federal Black American Boarding School Initiative. Let me move on. I'm just going to round this up, family. $900 million. $900 million. Listen, family. Now, they have things all over the board for providing educational services to approximately 45,000 individual students in 23 states. What else do we have here? To improve Black American student academic outcomes, address maintenance needs, support expanded preschool and Black American language programs, support post-secondary education program. You know what they're talking about, right, family? They're talking about college education. They're talking about trades. $185 million for post-secondary programs. For post-secondary programs, we're talking about HBCUs and other universities. We probably would get that money, but no. This is what you voted for. We continue to benign, neglect, and deflect and take up for a Democratic Party that has literally, since Martin Luther King, has done nothing for Black people. And we're talking about we're voting for the state of democracy. We're voting for abortion rights for our Black women. If you had reparations, do you believe a lot of our Black women, single or not, you think they will get abortions? No, they will have the money to take care of their children. Let me move on, family. It's a lot to cover here because now, if you wasn't wiped away with the immigrants, they're just letting illegal immigrants in the country, and in these 7 or 6 sanctuary cities, allow them to reside legally, but they're illegally in the country, federally, but under state law. You federally are breaking the law, but you're protected by your state. That's why I said that it doesn't matter what political party's in office, because the Republicans can reinforce this and send in ICE agents to all these strongholds where all these illegal immigrants are. But then the Democrats would deem that as inhumane. And look how the federal government has ordered these federal troops to treat these people. It goes back and forth. See, what we need to understand is Neely Fuller, a lot of people in Black media have stated that white supremacy takes both sides of the argument. They can make one thing look good, the other thing look bad. When they change hands of the power, then they just reverse and they flip roles. That's all they do. And they just have you confused as hell. And the only reason why you're voting a particular way is because your boyfriend, your girlfriend, your cousin, your brother, your sister, your aunt, your uncle, your mother, your father, your great-grandfather, blah, blah, blah. You're voting traditionally. You're not voting because you're using here. You're not breaking down. They're having you to worry about everything else except you and the people that look like you. How many times you done showed up somewhere? How many times have you showed up somewhere and you said, where are the Black people at? Now, when I went to LA, family, let me tell you, I said this almost every day I was in LA. I kept telling my wife, I said, babe, there really aren't no Black people here. Now, granted, we had some Black people at our hotel, but what I'm stating, family, is the decline of Black LA, they're single digits. Because there's places, we either be at the airport, at the car rental place, at restaurants. And matter of fact, when we went to Nobu in Malibu, there was no Black people in there. And then some of you are like, well, maybe no Black people wanted to eat sushi. Family, what I'm telling you is we went to Chinatown. I think we saw one black person. Just with your 2-hour research, you can, and especially if you went to multiple spots during, we didn't see a large population of black people nowhere. We did not see it. So when people come out of, Cali, will come out of LA and say, hey man, there's not a lot of black people in California. Here's the thing. They box you out of tech, even though a lot of you are taking up these tech certifications and tech degrees. It's still hard for you to get a job in California and other major states that they're democratically ran or republicly ran. That's because we need to understand the system of white supremacy and how it's totally annihilating us on both sides of the houses. The focus here tonight is just the Democrats, because guess what, family? We continue to vote for people and they do nothing for you. When you ask them specific questions, very direct questions, they give you the politician answer. Are we going to see, what we're going to do? We're just going to, we're going to call you. We're going to call you. We're going to get back to you. It's kind of how like they did Ice Cube. Remember Ice Cube, guys? The contract with Black America? Donald Trump was in the presidency and he asked both political parties. He said, hey, can I show you the contract? Can we negotiate? Can we have a meeting about the contract with Black Americans? He went to the Democrats first. The Democrats said, you know what? This is very interesting. We're going to get back with you right after the election. Right after the election. Now, Trump probably fearful he's going to lose the election because, of course, all of us, 87% of us, we're going to vote Democrat because that's what we're used to. We love our abusive relationship with the Democrats. We love it. They call us slaves. They say ill will things to us. But they give us food like fish fries and catfish nuggets and butter biscuits. They do all these great things for us. They record videos and they say, get your booties to the poll with a bunch of overweight strippers. And they do another video and say, no voting, no fucking, meaning no having sex with your partner. And they had, 50-year-old trainer up there with a very spicy young fella. This is what they do. This is what they do. And to top it all off, and I'm gonna address some of your comments very quickly before I get on this text one, because now if you have not seen the light that your voting actually means something, that even not voting means something, and I know there's some of you go like, oh my God, this dumbass dude talking about don't vote. Because the only question I would have is, what are you voting for? If every time you vote, other groups get economic and resources to support and further the growth of their group, except for us. How many times we're going to be fooled, be bamboozled, be tricked by these political parties? When? All right. She said, make it make sense, please. Chinese people don't participate in things that are not of their origin. Exactly. But the Democrats, what they do, they add a little water. They spread us out thin. They divide us. They conquer and divide us. Both political parties do. They conquer and divide us, whether it be a political, religion, healthcare, medical, education. They figured out a way to divide Black people on all accounts. On all accounts, they have divided us. Let me move on. She says, Linda Moore says, wake up, Black Americans. We're 6 hours ahead here. I agree to shut down. All right. Here's the biggest trope, family. If you've been voting Democrat, if you've been voting Republican, now this is only a small example. And I know a lot of you are like, oh, that's not happening here. But family, coming to a state near you where they're giving over 100 gender, sexuality options on applications for San Francisco's guaranteed gender income program. I have nothing negative to say about the LGBTQ community, have nothing against the community, but family, they're giving money for people who decided to have a sex change. You know what you know what's going to happen here, right? That community is going to flood to cities and states that offer this guaranteed income. Family, there's going to be gay people who are not transgender. The first thing they're going to do is fight for the whole LGBT community to receive guaranteed income. If that doesn't work, which it will, that will work if they just all get together, which they will, to get guaranteed income from the state. Then some of those gay people who are on the border, they're kind of borderline, like, you know what, I'm going to be transgender. That way I can get a guaranteed check. That's what you call reparations, family. That's what you call reparations. So you have illegal immigrants receiving thousands of dollars. Don't forget the Afghani refugees that they flew over here and gave money and places to live, as well as the illegal immigrants. And they're going to documentize, they're going to legalize them who are in the country illegally. It's still peculiar to me. That's why I got to keep saying it, right? Then they're going to give people who decided to change their sexuality. And it says here, family, 100 options. Let me blow this up for you guys. 100 options. Look at this, family. Over 100 gender sexuality options on application for San Francisco's Guaranteed Transgender Income Program. Here's the thing. Can I break this down to you? Now, I know a little bit about the whole transgender process. I know before they get like sex change and organ changes, they take some sort of injection, whatever gender they're trying to transfer or transform into. They take, testosterone or estrogen or something like that. All these things that in that community that they do. So if you even probably begin the transformation, but you never really want to do it, there's a guaranteed income coming your way. There's a guaranteed income coming your way. Guaranteed. Guaranteed. I love it. I love it. You know why? You know why I love it? Because she just stated you get $1,200 a month, which a lot of people are like, that's not a lot of money. $1,200 a month. I can do a lot with $1,200 a month, and you can as well. We did help, support, assist. It doesn't matter. It's money. For 18 months, for a year and a half. Then they stated that they're giving them medical care, because there's a lot of things that surrounds that whole operation. I'm just going to back her up just a little bit here. Okay. I hate to quote someone who's so divisive, but nonetheless, she's actually stating the truth here. Listen to this. $1,200 a month for 18 months. You also get gender transition treatment and financial coaching. No, family. No, don't skip past that. Don't skip past that. I've had conversations about mental health care, and they stated right here, gender transition treatment, mental health care, case management, and specialty care services, as well as financial coachings. So the government here are going to give you X amount of dollars for this long term. And in that, we're going to give you mental health care, specialty care, and financial coaching. I really want you to think about that, because and when people think about reparations, we understand that reparations is to repair a situation of people for grievances of whatever reparation is deemed for. And we're not looking at this in a very monetary manner in which we should. This should be yet again evidence of how political parties undermine Black Americans, replace us with other immigrant groups. And they kind of slow down. They slow down on letting Haitians, Black Cubans, Afro, Latinas, Jamaicans, and Africans in the country. Yes, they have. But they have increased illegal immigration and legal immigrations for non-Black people. Look it up. Let's move on. I don't want to stay here because it's trifling. remember how your mom and dad, man, you trifling. This is very trifling to the Black community, and we continue to fall for the trick bag and continue to vote for these goddamn. All right. Now, a lot of you may not agree with me on this next term. That's okay. I'm not too agreeable nowadays. I actually understand why Texas and Arizona, Florida are busing and flying illegal immigrants, illegal migrants to these so-called sanctuary cities. There are 7 sanctuary states: California, Colorado, Illinois, Massachusetts, New Mexico, Oregon, and Vermont. When I was in California, when I was in Los Angeles, majority of the people I saw was of Asian and Hispanic descent, and white, of course. Majority. I'm almost guaranteed that the Asian population outnumbers Blacks in California. I'm almost guaranteed. Now, the question I have is, why majority of the sanctuary cities hard to get to? Think about it. Colorado, you have to travel through all these states. You have to go through, you have to go through Texas. You know, you have to go through all these states. I'm trying to blow this up for you, family. Here we go. To get to Colorado, family, you got to go through Texas and Oklahoma and then over to Colorado. Now, the only sanctuary city that makes sense on this map is New Mexico. And as well as California, because I told you there's a very large population of Hispanics in California, let alone New Mexico. New Mexico is Mexico Part 2. And again, this is nothing against people of Hispanic or Mexican descent. I'm just pointing out the facts here. The largest sanctuary cities: New York, LA, Chicago, Philadelphia, San Diego, San Francisco. Again, here's my question. If you are an illegal immigrant and you land yourself in San Francisco and you so happen to be considered one of the 100 identified transgenders, do you receive TAF? Do you receive the guaranteed income for transgender people? Do you receive Medicaid? Do you receive all the benefits that other illegal immigrants in other cities receiving, as well as the transgender guaranteed income? I'm just asking questions. Because I look here, family, when I look at what Texas have done, Florida has done, some other states have done by busing and flying immigrants to New York, sanctuary city, to Chicago, sanctuary city, to Philly, sanctuary city, and DC, the nation's capital, my hometown. So I understand why that's going on, because Governors cause havoc by busing migrants to East Coast. Thousands of illegal migrants have been arriving on buses sent by governors of Texas and Arizona. Many have ended up in homeless shelters and on the streets. So, family, if we don't understand the state of Black America and understand that we have thousands of these other groups in America and how the Democrats and Republicans are using them as tools to stay in power and to, quote unquote, increase the white population, because they understand that a lot of Hispanics and some Asians on the census consider themselves as white, on job applications consider themselves as white, especially if an Asian has, and this is my conjecture, especially if an Asian has a white parent. They know that it's economically beneficial to label themselves as white. And believe me, family, I've been to a lot of Hispanic countries. A lot of them look white. What do I mean? When I went to Puerto Rico, I was seeing what seemed to be white women with blonde hair, blue eyes. So this is how political parties use other groups as buffer classes in order to undermine the Black power structure, because they understand if we bring in other groups to increase their population while diminishing the Black population by boxing out Blacks from certain jobs, certain industries, certain sectors, then this whole reparations conversation, we don't need you. We don't need you anymore. But now they're noticing that, and they're still trying to do it. They're staying with this strategy. A survey came out, I think by Pew Research. I'm not quite sure it was them, but nonetheless, of how a lot of these turned legal immigrants have voted Republican. You know why? You know why? They come over here and they build businesses with the money that the American government has granted them, not loaned them, granted them, meaning you don't have to pay it back. Again, I'm not against it. Now, family, here's the proof in the pudding. As I told you before, that Blacks have the highest percentage of homeless people, okay? What we're looking at are simple numbers. 280,612 of white people being homeless, but they're at over 75% of the population. Again, I keep telling people the answers are in the percentages, because if I think about it like this. You have 100% and you take 70%. You have now 70 cents of that 100%. If you have 100% and you took 30%, now you only have 30%. So you have to go with percentages and understand the hard numbers. We're almost at the same homeless numbers as white Americans at roughly 30,000 people. Why is this significant, family? Because when we look at the Census Bureau, give me a second here. Give me 1 second. Right here, family. The white population, white alone, that means simply white people, no Hispanics, no Asians, simply white. 75.8%, they are roughly 76% of the population. Black Americans, according to the Census Bureau, they still have it at 13.6. I believe it's around 15%, but nonetheless, they have it at 13.6. Hispanics or Latinos are at 19%. And then Asians are at 6.1%. And then when we look at the hard numbers of the homeless rate, we see that we are astronomically more represented homeless than any other group. But we continue to support these groups who go out and undermine Black Americans, but not giving us what's owed to us in the form of a check payment called reparations. And people are like, well, how much that money is? I did the math long time ago, but it's pretty much a larger number than that now. And I know when I tell you this number, you're like, oh, hell no, we're not getting that. That each foundational Black American receives $365,000 as a start, because we have to understand this, family. When I broke down what the Native Americans already have received and what the Native Americans will receive in the 2023 federal budget, do you understand what I'm getting at? And you understand what you can do with hundreds of thousands of dollars. You can invest it, you can build businesses, you can buy land, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, okay? Now, after all that has been said and done, we understand that we are the most unprotected group. I showed you how Native Americans are protected by the federal government, and this is yet evidence how Asian Americans are protected under the federal government with the anti-Asian hate crime bill. But again, we will vote for a group that gives everybody else resources, money, protections, except our own.
Marked by despicable and sickening acts of hate and violence. Those of Asian descent have been blamed and scapegoated for the outbreak.
And look who they got behind the young lady here speaking. They got us in support. See, they do a lot of things by depiction to have other Black people support things they want to support. No. You guys don't got to say that, but we just want you on the stage with her. We want you guys in the background, and we're going to give you these masks to say hashtag stop Asian hate. You don't have to say a word.
Asian Americans have been beaten, slashed, spat on, and even set on fire.
Okay, so she stated that Asian Americans has been beat, spat on, and even set on fire. I wonder if there's another group of people in America who has been here before the establishment of America and thereafter who has been spat on, beat, burned alive, killed, dismembered, hung, raped, etc.
Asian American community is exhausted from being forced to endure this rise in bigotry and race.
The Asian America community. Let me back up.
Being forced to endure this rise in bigotry.
Forced to endure. Forced to endure. Did I mention mass incarceration?
People often ask what Congress is doing about it. We are here today to say that Congress is taking action. Asian American
Family. Now, that wasn't a slap in the face. That was a punch. She stated, people are asking, what is Congress going to do about this? Black Americans have been asking since we first landed in this country as the indigenous people, and when they established this white supremacist government, what is Congress going to do to protect us?
have been screaming out for help. And the House
They have been screaming out for help.
for our food. Over a year ago, I first introduced my COVID-19 Defense Act to combat xenophobia and violence.
1 year ago. First recorded from some white Spanish conquistadors of melanated people in this country was back in 1526. Hundreds of years ago. The spokesperson here said she introduced this bill a year ago. A year ago. And it got signed just like that. Family, people use the term, we need to wake up. We need to see what's going on. And I really try to put together this video where you can see at every turn how it really doesn't matter what political party, that the only power, okay, when it comes to political, the only power that we have is our vote. And a lot of you coming here in December with Georgia, a lot of you Black Americans are going to vote for Raphael Warnock. And my question is, what has he said? What plans has he proposed that he's going to do to support Black Americans in Georgia, which has a very large, poor population? Some of you are going to go out and vote for Herschel Walker. And I still have the same question. What legislation that helps specifically Black Americans? See, when this federal government tells us that they can't do anything specific for Black Americans, and then you have people within the Black media realm tell you and show you how they continue to support and give resources and protections to other groups, you would like to question that? Till this day, Native Americans are receiving reparations. For a long time, I heard people like, well, those things didn't happen to you. That's why they're not giving you. That's why they're not giving you reparations. Then I say, well, Native Americans, well, we don't have a treaty with them. Did illegal immigrants have a treaty with the American government to get government assistance, to be placed in apartments and houses, to be flown from another country? Did Ukrainians have a treaty with America? I mean, they probably have one now, but they've given what, 890 billion already to Ukraine, and that's just the amount of money that we're tracking, right? It's well over 800 billion. We're almost at $1 trillion, and we're already probably at $32 trillion in debt. Or is it 800 million? My zeros get tied up. But hundreds of millions of dollars, regardless, are going to other countries to support and assist them in their endeavors. But it's your ancestral duty to go out there and vote. And you sure ain't gonna vote for no Republicans, but you'll go ahead and give it to the Democrats, for the group, for the party who has done nothing for us. And I'm not stating that you go out and give your vote to Republicans. And I know the one thing you hate for me to say is, yes, the strategy of holding your vote, letting the Democrats lose. Because here's the thing, what I understand about these two political parties. They both want power. They both want majority. And you have Democratic shills, you have Republican shills that look just like you and I, that will talk down to you, will curse at you, will demean you, tell you how stupid you are and why you should do this and why you should vote. And then when you ask them, what are they doing specifically for Black Americans? What are they doing specifically for you? They tell you about abortion rights, which benefits everybody who wants an abortion. It's not specifically for your group. And then you have me, and I come and I show you that is just for Asians, right? Then I come and I show you that is just for Native Americans. And I come and I show you that things of this matter are just for immigrants. And when people undermine you and they tell you this, hold on. One more time for the record. One more time.
More than ever, we're short of workers.
One more time.
Now more than ever, we're short of workers. We have a population that is not reproducing on its own with the same level.
Oh, and here's another thing, family. We don't have a population that is reproducing. Maybe because when we look at the abortion amount since this law was enacted, do you know that roughly over 90 million people have been aborted? And a large, almost majority percentage of those Black babies, of those life forms were, of those life forms were black. And the question is, why did those women outside of rape and incest, okay, and being forced upon, got their babies aborted, who went through abortion simply because they knew that they could not financially support that child? See, I keep telling people, at the end of the day, it all revolves around money. And if everybody's getting money and they're not working for it, and the Native Americans were owed that money, and you mean to tell me, just like the descendants of those Native Americans that were killed by the quote unquote pilgrims and their land taken and stolen, they deserve reparations, and that's what they're getting. For all the people that they killed, our ancestors, and the land, and the black business districts, and the black Wall Street that they destroyed, and you still believe that we're not owed reparations as the descendants, and the descendants of the Native Americans are still receiving reparations? You would like to believe that illegal immigration is the hot topic for the day. You would like to believe billions of dollars extra going to a group that's already receiving money is the issue. You believe that protection laws for every other group except for our own is more important than you just holding your vote and being a collective, and then understanding the dynamics of power when you unify. Then I don't know what else to tell you. I see we got Brent C. says black men need strong economic help than every other people. Since World War II, U.S. given close to $3 trillion to Israel. And speak the truth, we as black people are overdue reparations. Indeed, we are. Brent C. says give the Libertarian Party a chance. Brent C., I'm apolitical, my brother. I know a lot of things I say here, people are not going to agree. The only unification I see is not to really join a party. It's to really be, and we're not going to get every black American, but we have a great percentage to a point where it hurts any political party to turn their tides in order for them to be in power. Then we will understand the dynamics of holding your vote. I'm not telling you guys not to vote. I'm just telling you, wait to vote for something. That's all I'm stating. And if you continue to vote for nothing, the proof is in the pudding. We already failed for everything else. Have a good one.